If you're left-handed and you're thinking about starting to play the ukulele, you may be wondering, should I play left-handed or should I play right-handed? And it's a valid question. Hi, I'm Eric Guerin. I teach ukulele classes and I have a strong opinion about this because I am a left-handed person. I have spent my entire life writing left-handed, hitting a ball left-handed, catching a ball left-handed, catching it with my right, I guess, but throwing it with my left. There's a lot of tools out there that were built for right-handed people. Things like scissors and can openers. A lot of power tools have the switch geared so you'd use your right hand for the safety switches. Whereas if you're left-handed, you either are forced to do it right-handed or are making some accommodations to make sure that safety switch is in reach. Also things like computer mice. Most computer mice are ergonomically set up for your right hand. And so if you are left-handed and prefer to use your left hand, that can be a challenge. And things like I already mentioned, like baseball gloves and golf clubs and things like that you can get them, they're just harder to find. So when you're playing ukulele, it is a valid question. And if you're thinking about starting, should you choose to get a ukulele set up? And I'm going to get into that in a minute. Most ukuleles are set up so you are strumming with your right and using your left to do the frets. There are some guitarists who are left-handed who chose to have their guitars set up to be left-handed. So they are playing the opposite. They're strumming with their left and doing their chords with their right. Notably Paul McCartney, Jimi Hendrix, Kurt Cobain of Nirvana. And a lot of them actually used a right-handed guitar and just had it restrung to play left-handed. And we can get into that in a bit, but those are some concerns you'd have to think about. But there's also some strongly left-handed people who chose to play standard or right-handed, which would include Paul Simon, Elvis Costello, Mark Knopfler of Dire Straits. They're all dominant left-handed people who chose to play right-handed or standard, how the instrument was set up. Both have their some pros and cons in terms of what the benefits would be. So some of the pros would be there's a certain comfort level in doing things with your in holding a rhythm with your left hand that might come more naturally to a left-handed person. Some other things like finger picking or dynamic strumming, they might feel like they have more agility in that left hand because it is their dominant hand. And those are totally valid things to consider. There are a lot of cons though, So one of the things you have to consider with a ukulele and how it's set up, again, typically they're set up so your left hand is doing the fretting and your right hand is doing the strumming or the finger picking. And when you flip it like this, think of it this way. So normally it would be, you're set up so it's G, C, E, A. You'd have to talk to a luthier, and the luthier would need to make some accommodations up here on the nut to make sure the grooves are the right thickness so you don't get any buzz with the strings, and switch it so instead of G, C, E, A, it's actually G, C, E, A, opposite, okay? What that causes problems with is if you are reading a chord chart. So a chord chart is set up like this. So, your C chord, 3rd fret A string would look like that, right? So it's 3rd fret, but when you're actually playing it, if you're playing left-handed, you're actually going to be over here. So you have to invert all the chord charts when you're reading chord charts. So that becomes a little bit of a challenge if you're left-handed to kind of have to do that, mental agility to flip those chord charts so they work with how you're playing. A lot of tutorials, instructional videos, they're mostly set up for right-handed players. So that's another concern, that as you're watching an instructor in one of those videos or live in person or strumming in a group, and you're like, oh, what chord are they playing? And you can't figure it out quickly. Like you need to, you know, if it's something, you know, C is fairly easy, you can make that judgment, but you might need to do a little thinking in terms of like, how do I flip that chord shape that I see them playing into what I'm playing? Again, just an accommodation you might need to make. You know, so what do I recommend? So again, since I was born, I've been a left-handed player. I've been a left-handed person. I didn't start playing until about almost 10 years ago. It was 9 years ago. And so that might be a separate video about, you know, sort of starting music later in life. You know, not something, I loved music as a kid. I just didn't pick it up. I took guitar lessons, didn't really take, you know, until I was much older. But again, that's a subject for another video. But anyway, so when I started playing, I thought I needed to play on a left-handed ukulele. And so I had, not this one, but a different ukulele, and it was strung. I went to a luthier, I had it restrung, you know, so I could play left-handed. And I started playing that way for about 6 months, and I was making some progress, but a couple things sort of changed my mind. So one was I had a professional musician friend who was, you know, played in bands all his life, and he was left-handed, dominant left-handed. And I said, you know, hey, do you play lefty or righty? And he said, I played right-handed. You know, my grandfather had a guitar, was right-handed. He was the one who taught me how to play. And that was how I picked it up. And I was like, oh, that, you know, makes a lot of sense. And the other big event was, again, probably 4 or 5 months into playing, I was over my aunt's house, and she pulled out my great aunt's ukulele for me to play. And, you know, which was from, I'll actually grab it, hold on. This is it right here. I did a separate video about this ukulele. You know, it's a 1948 Harmony Roy Schmeck model soprano ukulele. You know, so she brought this ukulele out, and I went to try and play it. And of course, it was strung opposite, you know, opposite how I had been playing. So it was strung like this, and I was used to playing like this. And I realized in that moment, you know, and then in going to music stores and seeing a ukulele and saying, geez, you know, I wonder how that ukulele sounds. I wonder, unless it's restrung for you left-handed, it becomes really hard to, you know, be in a group and someone says, hey, you know, try my uke. And you know, that happens a lot when you're in a group setting. And you can't do that when you play left-handed. And you miss out on those opportunities to play a different instrument or try a different instrument. And so that was really, those were really the two things. One was, you know, being at a family event and not being able to play because it was not strung how I was used to playing, which was left-handed at that time. And this was strung right-handed. And the other is, you know, being in a group setting or being at a store and not being able to try, you know, a ukulele that's strung standard or for right-handed people. You know, and that was when I talked to my friend who's the professional musician, and I was thinking about starting over, and I was like, I'd made so much progress, I didn't really want to start over. And he said, well, you know, it's one of those, it's a decision you have to make yourself, which was true. And another thing he told me to think about is like, well, your left hand is your dominant hand. And, you know, when you're playing, do you want your dominant hand doing all the crazy, difficult things on the fretboard? Or do you want it just doing this? Because when you're first learning, this is usually what you're doing, is just holding down a rhythm, right? And so when you think about it that way, like, you do want your left hand, your dominant hand, to be the one that's doing all the fretting and the difficult movement over here, because it's going to be naturally a better channel for your brain to kind of do that. So you have an advantage as a left-handed person and playing standard. And then just using your right hand to, you know, and then if you decide to pick up finger picking and try that, like, You can, but then by then you've got the basic rhythm of like strumming, and you've taught this right hand how to do something, and your left hand is able to do all those chords and fun stuff down the neck on your ukulele. So that's kind of where I'm coming from it. So you probably have guessed like what my opinion is on that. And the easiest thing I can say is like you need two hands to play any instrument for the most part. You know, piano, your hands are doing basically similar things, but like other instruments are the same, where it's like you have a left hand and a right hand doing things on the instrument, and whether it's, you know, this way or this way, it's just a matter of preference and comfort, really. It's not a matter of like how you play the instrument or how proficient you become. And so I think a lot of left-handers might get frustrated when they first start playing because they're not seeing, you know, they might feel like, oh, you know, if I was playing left-handed, I could advance faster. And with any musical instrument, it's just a case of practice. And so whether you're playing it this way or you're playing it this way, you're going to eventually make progress the more you practice. For the points that I sort of made about, you know, being able to pick up an instrument off the shelf and play it at a family event, for me, that was the decision maker, and why I decided to play standard or right-handed, however you want to, whatever you want to call it. Once I got it, and now I've been playing for, you know, probably 8+ years standard. I don't feel like I could ever play left-handed again. I might be able to still, but I think, you know, it's again that muscle memory of doing things over a certain amount of time. I hope you I know there's not a whole lot of lefties out there, so this is probably a very small audience of people, but you'd be surprised. Every time I'm on Facebook, there's, you know, Facebook groups I belong to of ukulele players, and a newbie will jump in and ask about playing left-handed, and a lot of my friends will tag me for them, you know, to talk to, as you know, as a lefty. You know, but again, it's all a matter of personal preference. Like you might try standard and you just cannot, it's not clicking in your brain. And you can always get it restrung by a luthier, get it set up so you're not dealing with any, you know, you could try to restring it yourself, but if they're not sitting right, it might buzz, it might frustrate you even more. So I do recommend getting it restrung by a luthier to make sure it's set up correctly if you are going to do that. But again, like give it some time. I'd say practice with a standard uke, how it's set up. Give that a shot, play it for a while, and you'll be surprised after you've practiced for a while. Like it's going to take time. It doesn't come really quickly. Hopefully this was helpful to the, you know, small group of lefties who are out there and their friends and family who try to support them. Hope you found it helpful. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment below if you're a lefty and are struggling through some of these things. Happy to chat with you in the comments. And most importantly, keep on strumming.